Hello. So, there was this discussion from like 2 days ago? 3 days ago? Let's see. August 29th? Oh, wait. Okay, it's this guy. I wanted to go through this discussion. I had some stuff to say about it, which I kind of forgot, but I'll probably remember it when I look at the discussion. It's not a high quality discussion. Um, he doesn't seem to have arguments, or at least he doesn't want to share them. I think he was being like really dishonest or something. Anyway, it actually starts here. I think this is the same guy. Yeah. Why do you ask? And then they tag that and reply. Their first question is Harry Binswanger a real objectivist? They got a link in response, which there's no indication that they ever clicked on this link or know anything at all about it. And then they specifically replied to Kate, not to the link. And that's relevant to their like work ethic or like interest in actually looking at material. So now they start shitting on objectivism, and they basically say it's good that Cropper is not an objectivist because objectivism is retarded regarding nature-nurture. That is the summary of what this comment says. My post is that Brandon Cropper is not an objectivist. He claims to be an objectivist, but he doesn't hold a blank slate view like Ayn Rand. This guy comes along and he's just like, well, the blank slate view is stupid, so he's trying to defend Cropper. But he never, I don't think he ever addresses the issue that makes Cropper not an objectivist. So you can disagree with objectivism, and this guy himself says, quote, I am not an objectivist, I will never be one. It's like, okay, it's one thing to disagree with objectivism, it's another thing to disagree with objectivism and say you're an objectivist. Now, maybe you could disagree about one or two things for, sophisticated reasons and still claim to be an objectivist. I do that. But this guy does not show understanding of the objectivist position. He doesn't have sophisticated reasons for disagreeing with it. He just has standard reasons and ignorance of objectivism. And it's the same with Cropper. Cropper just doesn't know the objectivist position rather than knowing more than it. And it's a major, well-known objectivist position. And I think there's a big problem that he's trying to present himself as a leader of objectivism. And then, I mean, what he said was actually a lot worse than just disagreeing with objectivism, because he said, we can't say innate knowledge, we're not allowed to. Somebody will come spank our hand. As objectivists, we have these certain things we have to not say, like innate knowledge. But what is it? It's innate knowledge. So he thinks objectivism is about speech codes, which is like really, really not objectivism. So that's like worse than disagreeing about blank slate. But he hasn't actually learned the objectivist position on blank slate, so that's lame. Anyways, this other guy comes along, and he doesn't seem to know much about objectivism, but he thinks the blank slate idea is stupid. But he says if Ayn Rand really thought biology didn't matter. So he's not even acknowledging that's her position. Like, he knows so little about objectivism that he hasn't read any quotes of her saying that. He doesn't know about the gallant gallstone, for example. Like, this is a common thing in Rand's books. It is in both of her major novels, not just in her nonfiction. I'm sure it's in Galt's speech somewhere, too. And he's saying if Rand really thought that. He was very clear on this point. There's no like controversy about what Rand's position was. So this is just showing ignorance. Anyways. So I asked if he wanted to have a rational debate, and I linked him to this thread. Now, this is partly my mistake. For some reason, I thought he was commenting in the open discussion thread, so I was like, let's move out of the open discussion thread and go comment in a relevant topic. But we're already in the branding proper is not an objectivist topic. So that's why I tried to switch him to a different comment thread, which he completely ignored without... Like, he didn't give a reason for not doing it, he just didn't do it. But then I didn't bring it up again because I realized we were already not in open discussion, so it didn't matter. But anyways, I gave him this info, and he proceeded to get extremely confused. He says, I read it and it sounded like an apologist. But he doesn't say who's the apologist, because if you read this post, it's a discussion between two people. See, this is a reply to Ed Powell. And it's like, you could think that Ed Powell's an apologist, or you could think that Elliot Temple's an apologist. He doesn't say which one he thinks. But anyways, the worst part is he hasn't figured out that Curi in green text is the owner of curi.us. So he doesn't realize that's my blog post. But he gets confused about that somehow for like multiple back and forths. Anyways, his posts have like no arguments and just a bunch of assertions. So he says like, are you someone who doesn't believe males and females are different? Well, what do you mean by different? He just says male and female has an effect on an individual's overall nature. This comma's wrong. And biology influences IQ. And more. But he won't quote anything that I said in the IQ post, and he never will. So yeah, trying to... He says, the person who wrote the link you sent sounded like an apologist. I figured it was something you wrote. Since you linked it, where is your position? Send me a link to that. This is so incoherent. He says he figured it was something I wrote, since I linked it. So he's claiming he did know it was my position. And then he said, where is your position? Send me a link. I was like, but you just got the link. So he's fucking incoherent. I thought that was interesting, how incoherent he is. Also, he tried to clarify his position by saying, the human is born with a monkey nature because we are 98% monkey. Only 2% of us is blank slate because we aren't born with innate ideas or concepts. So here he thinks calling us having a monkey nature is a clear defining his terms, explaining his position kind of statement. We have a monkey nature. I explained it. But meanwhile, while that's the standard for his view, the standard that he wants from me explaining my position is more than being linked to a series of 3 blog posts. So him, monkey nature, me, 3 blog posts. Him, give more info. You need to explain what you're talking about. And I already did explain myself. I said monkey nature. So I think I said that. He calls my multi-blog post series, as well as more in the archives and elsewhere, inadequate for explaining my position, but then his 2 sentences are adequate. He doesn't explain what nature consists of, or why he thinks ideas play such a small role in life. He then proceeds to deny that he said that ideas play such a small role in life, after attributing them 2% of the importance. I remember that part. See, right here. I didn't say ideas play such a small role in life. You're quite dismissive and catty. Are you being serious? My response, you put them at 2%. Like, what the fuck is wrong with this guy? Then he said, oh yeah, he asked, why don't you give me a link to your multi-blog series rather than someone else's stuff? I already fucking told him I wrote it earlier. I think. Or at least he said he knew that I wrote it. Oh, I said, I can't tell if you're accusing me of being an apologist or the other guy. So this suggests that I wrote it. Although it's not 100% clear. Anyways, I told him what website he's on, and my name. Monkey nature is not specific or clear. Okay, yes, he doesn't understand internet names. He understands my point about 2%, but 98% of us is monkey, and only our human consciousness is a blank slate. I already pointed out Korea's, so ideas matter greatly. Okay, but you said 2%. If they matter so much, why do you think that's 2%? North Korea is not 2% different than the United States. You know, the difference is more like 2 million%. He thinks we're like centaurs. Oh yeah, he can't understand that I don't think IQ is biological. He repeatedly says you're admitting IQ matters, therefore you're admitting biology matters. He doesn't understand that he's just assuming IQ is biological. Oh, and he gets really hung up on the issue of how much does biology matter rather than does biology matter. He wants it to be a matter of degree rather than thinking about qualitative differences. He says even if biology is only 1%, he's right, even though he said it was 98%, which is not honest. Anyways, when he says I've accepted that biology matters to what? It matters to how strong your muscles are. It doesn't matter to your mind. The issue I was trying to talk about is your mind and how minds work. So I explain this, but he doesn't listen at all and says the same stuff that he's been saying in all of his future posts as well. So here he says IQ is important, but he doesn't argue that IQ is biological. So his reply is begging the question again. And then he makes assertions. Females are born paying attention to faces, while men are born paying attention to things. This is 100% outside of human consciousness. So he thinks what you pay attention to is not an issue of your mind. Like, what you pay mental attention to in your mind is not determined by your mind. That's completely controlled by unconscious biology from your genes. I don't know what the fuck he thinks the causal mechanism is that causes this. It makes no sense. This is not a standard position. Like, this is not a normal nature view. That what people pay attention to is 100% outside of human consciousness. Like, the normal nature view is to say it's like, I don't know, 20% influenced by biological factors, but obviously your mind has some control over it. Saying it's 100% outside human consciousness, it's weird because just before that, in his previous point, even if biology matters only 1%, my point is made. But now he's gone from claiming 98% to 100%, literally 100%. So there's something wrong with this person. But it's very typical. Like, other people are this dumb too. They just hide it by avoiding discussions. I read this one earlier. Let's see what else there is. YouTube, I don't want those giant things blocking my view when I put my mouse over it. Okay, whatever. So you put your mouse here and then you can read the next one. And you put your mouse like right here and you can read the next one. I don't know why you pasted the last one, just because he's saying being male or female matters. Are you calling Dagny a trans woman? Or a trans man? So here, he wasn't getting it, so I clarify. I don't think IQ is biological. He admits he has no idea what he's talking about. And he says he's not interested in my work because he's seen the arguments against Nassim Taleb. So he saw me refute a different guy, And he decided I'm stupid, so why is he here? Anyway, you aren't giving any details or specific regarding your claims. There's a typo, but whatever. Specifics. It should just have a S on the end. Regarding your claim about IQ, talent, male, female, you made a scientific claim with no source, etc. You don't have to start by trying to debate an expert on a complex issue. Start with something easier, have some success, try something 30% harder. Or try it with a different attitude, go slower, more organized, ask for help on some points you're posting chaotically. My point was only biology matters. Okay, now this is a very common lie. People use words like just or only when they're false, and they know they're false, and there's some reason they really like to do it. It's because he's trying to say you can't attack anything else, I only said this one thing. And it's just a complete spur-of-the-moment lie. Because he said a bunch of things. Humans are only ideas is not a fair assessment of my view. Anyway, he said... He's trying to claim that I admitted biology matters, again, because I said IQ matters, some. So I repeated what I already said. This is the third time I'm trying to tell him I don't think IQ is biological. He says, quote, I don't see a point, though, continuing, because there is clearly a genetic component to IQ. So in other words, he already knows the answer as a non-expert, so he's done thinking, and there's no point talking. Well, he started the conversation. He says, why would evolution affect everything except our brain? Well, it did affect our brain. The evolution created our brain, but all brains have the same fundamental capabilities, similar to how all PCs can run the same apps. But he just doesn't know anything about rival views. And I linked him to more information, which he won't read. He also, he refused to read what I've already written on this topic. You haven't said what you mean by, quote, nature. If you mean their mind, e.g. wanting to wear makeup or starting fistfights, no, that's ideas. So he says females multitask better because their brains are wired different than men's. But his English is pretty bad. Like, he's missing the apostrophe here, and this comma is terrible. This comma is terrible too. He's particularly bad at commas. Anyways, yes. So to debate this kind of thing, you have to go into details, like with science. So I try to ask, how do you know your claim? Do you have science? Do you have logical reasoning? What do you have? I'm not going to go into detail because there isn't a need to, because it's an elementary point. The data from psychology backs this up. So that's an unargued assertion that males have a protective instinct. And then he didn't want to talk anymore. So 2 days later, actually 1.5, rather than give any information on psychology backs this up. Another claim that there's research on his side, but he can't give a single paper. He comes back and says, I'll explain males have a protective instinct in detail. When you explain in detail the assertion, existence exists. Now, that is a weird comment, because this is just off topic. Like, he's bringing up this off topic thing. Apparently he just hates objectivism, and he's like, I'll explain my position when you tell me why objectivism in general isn't so retarded. It's like a major tangent. So, and then someone answered him. And then he didn't reply again. So he got the answer and he didn't keep his side of the bargain. So that was dishonest. That was on October 3 and it's now October 4. I mean, maybe he'll come back. The rest of these comments are trolls, and I'm pretty sure they're not the same person. There have been trolls on multiple threads for the last couple days. I think it's completely unrelated to the guy who was arguing about nature nurture, who was not intentionally trolling. Like, he was bad at arguing, and he was kind of dumb and whatever. But he was like sort of trying to debate. He wasn't trying to be a troll. Whereas some of these other people, like why are Rand's characters so rapey, posted by John Galt, that person, their goal is just to annoy me. Why is Curi pretending to be an expert in biology, right? Their goal there is to annoy me. They're not trying to have a discussion. The other guy was just bad at discussion. It's a different thing. Why does Curi support stealing people's money to build a wall? Does Curi not know that ladders have been invented? Yeah, I remember the ladder thing from the presidential campaign. It was a stupid comment then, and it hasn't gotten smarter since. I mean, it turns out that carrying a ladder up to the border wall actually, those are heavy and they slow you down and they're easy to spot and stuff. They also cost money. Like, that's not just a trivial free solution. Yeah. Hey, wait. Oh! Okay, so if I select this window, then I get the stupid, like, control buttons. If I select Safari, or they're both Safari actually, but if I select a different window, then I can zoom this shit, and it won't give me control buttons because the window doesn't have focus, so that's good. Anyway, there's some reason I wanted to go through that conversation. I forgot what it was. I don't think it was that he was irrational or dishonest or bad at logic or incoherent or anything like that. I think it might have been something social related. Oh no. Maybe it's how do you help that person? How do you get through to them? How do you have a productive conversation? Do you just give up and hope to talk to someone better? Like, only worry about talking to the 10% of people that are the easiest to help? And if they're not in the top 10%, just forget about it. Like, it's not that it's impossible, but you're better off focusing on better people. Is that the right attitude? I think that might be it. A lot of people complain about my discussion style, and they say I should be nicer and more helpful or whatever. But you don't see them actually responding to people like this. Like, where are they helping this guy? Why don't they talk to him? There's a lot of people who like act like they could do better, or they I don't know if they think they could do better, or they just think if I would only do three things differently, then I would do better. And they know what those three things are, even though they can't actually have a discussion well. I don't know, but you don't see them actually trying out their ideas very much. I think people should either not really complain about how I discuss, or try it themselves and try to do better and try to have some success and show me, oh, if you discuss this way it works. And that also, it'll give you examples, because a lot of what they tell me about style is very abstract. Like, they're trying to argue principles or something, but it's not principled though. It's just standard social conventions, but they don't have like specific examples. I always try to push those discussions to specific examples, like what sentence should I have not written? What sentence should I have replaced with what other sentence? It's a lot easier to talk with actual examples. Because they're like, just say it in a way that's nice and also doesn't compromise the content in any way. And it's like, okay, right, how? Like what do you mean? And then when they actually give examples, what you find out is they're like rude and offensive, and they don't even realize like all the things they're doing wrong. Like they make all sorts of social errors that they're just blind to. That's what happens when they actually give examples, in my experience. And on top of that, they frequently ruin the content and make stuff like really fluffy. I have a new blog comment. It might be another troll though. Let's see. Oh, this thing. Right, so I streamed a response to some comment that I didn't like all that much and didn't really want to write a detailed reply to. And then the person wrote a very illegible reply where they say, timestamp range, are you saying that to me? Or, uh, like, timestamp range, you are interpreting wrong what I'm saying. Like, I don't know what I said during that timestamp range. I can't follow this at all. Like, this would be extremely hard to follow. I'd have to keep playing back each timestamp range and then read the comments immediately after I played back that section. And this is a 4-second section, which is like weird to be responding. Like, it's very precise. I don't know if he, like, I'm skeptical that he even has the seconds exact. Like, is 4 seconds even enough time to say a whole sentence? I don't know. Anyways, so I did not substantively reply to this. Instead, I replied, because it was just too hard to deal with. But I replied basically that he was being like really pushy. Because he was demanding that I do my very best work. Like, don't stream it. Write a text reply that's super tryhard. And I'm like, why? Like, I don't care about you. So I said he was asking for not only free ice cream, but it has to be the most expensive one in the store. The most premium free ice cream only, please. And then he claimed that he was giving me free ice cream, which is not my perspective on what's going on. So if he doesn't appreciate my comments, I don't really care. Anyways, he has come back. But I don't know. Well, transcribe it. If you care that much, just transcribe it. I'm not going to reply. Otherwise, Boobs. Okay, so I didn't read all these before because I've been doing the like one thing at a time. So I'm gonna skim these at least. This is so silly. Like, you should be interested in anything about the field, not only things that are directly relevant to your algorithm. Learning more about the field would be helpful. If you don't want to learn about the field in general, you're not going to get anywhere in the field. She's just not very interested in her field. She just doesn't want to know like all about it and master every detail and understand what are all the things people think about AGI and what are the right answers and so on. She's just not interested. You need to like care about your field and want to know all about it and want to master it if you're going to get anywhere. I mean, this is an irrational bad idea. She said this before. This is the second time she said like this specific thing. That's one of the things I was planning to bring up. But she was asked to clarify, and instead of saying that was sloppy writing, she said, "This is what I mean," and then the thing she means disagrees directly with Popper. Okay, so when she was clarifying, she didn't say what she meant. And directly contradicted Popper. This is not what he means, no. He means easy in a binary way, as in not hard. The relatively easy is a good, it's a good clarification of what you mean as easier than other ideas, like compared to certain other ideas, this one's easier for him to understand. You can compare ease of understanding X to ease of understanding Y. But this is comparing ease of understanding it for one person to ease of understanding for another, uh, for some reason. But his meaning is definitely not purely it's easier for this person than the other person, because he's also talking about some sort of absolute standard of ease, or a standard of ease relative to some sort of baseline idea. But it's not only relative to how hard it is for someone else, because that would be compatible with it being super hard for the expert and super, super, super hard for the other person, which would not be what David's saying. She says the project is very like vaguely defined, doesn't really know exactly what we need to figure out or not, which that's okay. But that's incompatible with her view that she doesn't want to just read everything about it. Like, if you don't know exactly what the full project plan is, if a lot of it's up in the air, then you should be willing to explore and read a variety of relevant things instead of saying, "Oh, I don't see how this is directly relevant. I'm not interested." Like, you can't have super narrow interests on your project while also saying your project is open-ended and vaguely defined. Like, that doesn't make any sense. This fits with her lack of integrity in general, which seems to be the main problem, but she's also very unfriendly. She's very, very biased. Like, she won't admit to any errors, and she keeps making a string of unreasonable defenses of what she said to deny that they're errors. And it's not, as far as I can tell, a skill issue. She keeps understanding how lots of the things she said were wrong after she says them and you point it out. And I think in a lot of cases she could have understood it in advance by herself. She just chose not to think of it because she's just being really biased for conclusions. Right, but she walked it back and said she meant relative difficulty. And not only that, but relative to the difficulty for other people. Which doesn't make sense. When you say X is easy, you do not mean it's easier for me than for Jim. Because if you're saying X is easy, that means for all people. Like, you can't. Saying relative to the difficulty for other people doesn't make sense as a generic defense of calling stuff easy. So, Justin says, I'm currently unclear what you're arguing. Ella does not respond by saying what she was arguing.
the United States, he got to see horrible things happen to people, not just people, right? But he also got to see things get better. Right? He got to see things change. He got to see people who weren't like him, right, be on the same side as him, right? And that's one of the things that's interesting about the United States. 160 years after 1619, you get to 1776, and a guy like George Washington or a guy like Thomas Jefferson, who had grown up in a society that took slavery and racial hierarchy for granted in the 18th century, could suddenly start to think, oh, maybe there's something wrong about it, right? Maybe there's something that I need to be uncomfortable with when it comes to that institution. And they do make that acknowledgement, right?
Well, and at the same time, Britain is outlawing slavery in the late 1700s, and the U.S. is outlawing the international slave trade in the early 1800s. And so it's, in America and the West, we're moving towards outlawing slavery, and at the same time, slavery is still going on full bore in Africa, and they're not exactly all for ending slavery because they're making money from it. So isn't it the West and our more liberal notions of equality and that actually ends slavery?
It's not just slavery, but I think the point is, the context is that it's only really this country and enlightened England and Europe that people actually ever did eventually become free. And at the time, it was pretty brutal life, unless you were born privileged.
It's like an airplane when they tell you to put your oxygen mask on first before helping other people. I mean, we have to unshackle ourselves from monarchy, and we set this country in motion. And then you start to see all these dominoes fall. Now we're at the point where we look, by virtue of the fact that we enjoy freedom, we can now look back and say, well, because they didn't do it sooner, or didn't figure it out, or didn't fight these wars, a war for independence even sooner, that we should chastise these people and denigrate them. I mean, that's such a context drop.
Right.
They're lucky that they live in a free society. And
we all are.
Yeah, we all are. Exactly. That's my point. They are. We are. I am. I'm grateful. And they're not. They see it as this really horrible place. And they have lost it. The only reason that they could see it that way is by losing the rest of world history and the rest of the history, the context that you're saying. The only way that you could see it this way is to drop all of that other information.
Right. And I think you may have hit part of this earlier with the sort of, you don't ever want to psychoanalyze somebody from afar, but the reading that, the biographical weekend that she wrote about her dad and feelings about
a big confession there.
And yeah, right. And that sort of thing can, be a tremendous motivator to do stuff, right? In her case, it's to do this, right? To try to, I think in her own way, I think she believes quite firmly that if this becomes the way in which we all see the past, we all think of ourselves as Americans. I think she really does believe that this then becomes the way in which she, as a much younger person, could have been proud of the United States.
Right. And of her father.
Right.
Yes.
And so I think in that respect, she believes she's doing some sort of yeoman service for creating a real and authentic and true patriotic story that Americans should be hanging their hat on.
It's a hell of a lot less inspiring and interesting than the real story.
I think she thinks it's pretty inspiring. In its own way, right? I think what's missing or what's wrong with it is that it ironically distorts the very thing that she thinks she's putting front and center. It distorts and truncates and kind of triumphalizes in a weird way the very history she wants front and center. And that's just a weird side effect of what she's doing. And of course, then it also minimizes or destroys or completely obliterates lots of other history that she doesn't want to emphasize or she doesn't want to be the focus anymore. And that's problematic to say the least.
But if not for just this one, it's not just this one woman, because she couldn't get away with it if this wasn't a trend throughout the academy. So what explains this larger mission or methodology, as it were, to look at history in this way, to distort history for either a political agenda or as a means to some sort of psychotherapy or a comforting way to think about or rationalize your own failure? What is that? What's been going on for the last 30 or 40 years here that's enabled this?
Here's the weird thing. I alluded to this before. Historians of these actual subjects do not approach them in the way that she approaches this. I think it's historians and academia in general in the 70s conceded to activist scholars the idea that there should be a protected enclave for, this is the first safe space, so to speak, for radical ethnic studies as a discipline.
Not just ethnic, because there's women's studies, and
so it's
gender studies, I guess.
Yeah.
Pearson has talked about this a lot. He thinks that is the cancer in universities.
Yeah, in those places, I think that's when we talk about Nicole Hannah-Jones as a genius. She's not a genius in the history realm. Like I said, when I went through the authors here, I didn't see any recognizable historian involved in this. But I imagine these people are recognizable in the African American studies realm. And that's just how historians live. It's weird. Academia created those enclaves as a sort of way to assuage guilt, but then they sort of never interacted with them. They never brought them in to criticize their ideas or anything. Again, that has to do with not wanting to be called bigoted. So there's that. I don't know if that's a satisfying answer for you.
Well, that's a satisfying answer because it's a cultural problem that everybody's running around scared of being called bigoted to fight back against these crazy lunatic SJWs in every subject, in every realm, whether it's social media or whatever. Everybody's backing down. So they're so afraid of being called a racist or xenophobe or whatever. And that is really the problem of our day. And I don't think it's going to get solved until people of all colors are willing to stand up and go, all right, fine, I'm a racist. At least I care about truth.
I look forward to that meme campaign where people start posting their mouth duct tape with "I'm racist" on it.
Whatever. Obviously we're not racist, but my point is that we have to stop being afraid. How do you get over the fear of the label? Except to just fine. If you want to call it, fine. I'm fine with it. Call me a name. As long as we're talking about truth, that's all that matters. And you just have to ignore the slurs, I guess. But a lot of people have to start standing up. And shame on the Smithsonian. And shame on the Pulitzer Center. We expect this kind of shit from the New York Times after last year's expose on how great communism is. So this to me is just more of that. And New York Times sold their soul a long time ago.
Yeah, the New York Times Magazine, as best I can tell, is a weird cesspool of goofballs that couldn't make it into the actual New York Times. So I guess it just does these weird sort of woke social justice warrior projects now.
Well, it is going to have an impact.
Oh, it was New York Times Magazine, not New York Times newspaper, that was involved with this? Did not realize.
It's going to get picked up. Teachers are going to take these materials into their classroom and teach their kids this. So everybody out there listening, if you have children or grandkids or whatever, you have to counter this. Or if your schools start dealing with this, you got to go in and speak out and say this isn't right. This is anti-American. This is not historical. This is not run by historians. I think that's an interesting fact. There's no historians anywhere around this.
Well, it's clearly on the nyt.com site, so I don't think any retraction is needed, even if it was primarily done by some subgroup or whatever. It says the New York Times Magazine in the top left, but it's on newyorktimes.com and they're presenting this shit, so blaming it on the NYT seems fine.
I think that is a really interesting fact, and you can go to your schools with that information and say, you know what, I will trust the historians over these diversity activists.
Here's the rub, Sonny. You bring up a great point. The way in which we train teachers in college is not in the history department to teach history, right? It's in the education department or education program of most colleges. So teaching history is managed by a person with an education degree who will take this, right? This will be this will be a great way to do this.
The New York Times says it's great. The Smithsonian says it's great. The Pulitzer Center, these are all reputable organizations, and they don't know enough to know it's BS. So I hope they're paying attention out there. Yeah, we don't care. They're just looking for a way to not have to do any work and shove these worksheets out of their kids. So
here's the scary part. When they go to the interview and they say this is when they get asked the question, why would you teach slavery in your class? And they pull this out of their toolbox and say, well, I would use these resources from Pulitzer Center, Smithsonian about teaching 1619, blah 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 blah. You'll get two reactions from the steering committee. One will be, oh, look how committed this person is, really up to date on what's going on in Smithsonian. Ooh, that's interactive, and students won't have to read old dead people and what they had to say about stuff. And the other group of people in our committee will be, oh no, I can't possibly object to this in the committee later on because I'll be perceived as not with it or racist or unhip or something. So it's almost just diabolical the way it's been set up.
Yeah, you're in the committee and you say, this is BS. And they say, this is the New York Times and the Smithsonian. Who are you? I mean, seriously, I think this is horrible. This is going to be a really big problem. This is going to get taught. And in 20 years, every kid is going to say 1619. This is sick.
Really the goal, yeah.
Yeah. All right, well, that ends our show for today. All right, everybody, fight it. Speak out. Who cares what they call you? That's the key. That is the key. We have to speak out. If your kids are in school, speak out. Don't let them do this. This is BS. You heard it here from a historian, a real historian who works at the university, is a professor, has studied history his whole life, right?
Yes.
Yeah, and say that book again, the one that people should read for accurate.
Wait, you were signed out of your... It's really annoying how you just try to leave comments and Google not only interrupts the video you were playing, but loses your place in it. It's kind of ridiculous. That's why I didn't do it until the video was actually ending, as I thought something like that might happen. But it was even before I tried to comment. When I just clicked on the field, it decided to screw me. Oh shit, they got Mr. Cropper. That I'm curious about. I think he's bad, but I'm curious how Sunny will deal with him. If she'll be like, you suck, or if she'll be a fan of his. It seems like something she might be able to get right, because she's criticized Yaron Brook. But I don't know. I think it's a good test of how good Sunny actually is. Yeah, I wanted to put this in my newsletter, or I should get the... Fan of Cropper? Oh no, that's sad. Alright, so I was like here-ish.
Counter to this, because really that is the only thing that you could take to a committee meeting and try to get people to read, regarding these schools and what's happening in the classrooms and stuff, or give it to your teachers, give it to your history teachers in your kid's school, some sort of counter narrative to this that points out the flaws in this project. It's just unbelievable how vast and how well supported it is. Anyway, thanks for coming on, Alex, and talking to us about it. This has been a great show, really informative, and I appreciate it.
No problem. Thank you for having me and letting me gas on about it. So.
All right, bye everybody. Thanks for listening to the House.
More grammar. So Ann B wrote a post commenting on my post from April on Peikoff. Course homework 1, question 5, which is this quote from Lincoln's Gettysburg Address. So overall, it seems like Anne agrees with my April analysis. I'm going to start a reply here. Let me. Right, so I say, regarding this, what we say here, I commented in April. Peikoff says that the noun clause, what we say here, is separate, not part of the main clause. I analyzed the noun clause on its own below, but also treated it as nested within the main clause. I googled some reviews on the right way to think about clauses that seem to be nested in other clauses. So the nesting thing is something that has come up quite a lot. Where am I? Okay. It's on the list, and I was initially pretty confused. I think I'm still somewhat confused, but maybe less confused than I was. So in Anne's email, she mentioned that Peikoff went over this in the lecture. So the sentence, this Lincoln sentence. So I brought up the lecture in order, and I'm going to play a bit of it that I think is relevant.
Well, let me tell you what I did. You are 32 words, but you don't have to words. So you didn't get contact by the time you gave me a non-name clause. Well, the world will know for a long number. That's a clause, right? Why is the clause? What is that? World. Now think, what is the verb? Now you have to think, what is the verb? Will knows, well, no. Remember, this is called a compound verb. It's just one clause, it's one subject. Well, but you have two words. It's two clauses, a compound verb. So the verbs are will note, and will is five number.
Right, so I guess I disagree that, like, I don't think this part is a complete thought. Like, if you just break it up into its parts, like, the world will little know, what will it little know? The world will long remember. That's how Anne's numbering anyway. Dependent clause 2. Okay. If the participial phrase is restrictive, you don't need a comma, because it's too essential to the sentence.
Alright, so more grammar. Today I'm going to talk some about the word that. And I've been a little confused about that. And definitions of that. So is is a linking verb. I think enough is the complement. So then the only issue is what the subject is. And for these sorts of expletive sentences, I think basically the it is pointing to this stuff. And so it kind of drops out. I find something interesting about this, by the way, because like I was a little confused about it at first, and like, oh, is it like a clause? Like you have man, you have do, you have thing. But
I don't like how Markdown handles quoting. It doesn't highlight the block quote in the editor, and also when you hit enter, you just get more quotes. You have to remember to hit command enter when you're done with a quote. Whereas other editors, if you double enter after a quote, they'll like end the quote in general. Or something like that. Sounds right. Anyways, it like disrupts my workflow with it. I like keep doing it wrong, whereas with other editors, my intuitions don't work wrong.
They couldn't, like, even if you get rid of the, or I should say, if you get rid of that, it can't really stand on its own. Like some of these things, they can. No, there's some contradiction between this, because I think Elliot's saying that this is not acting as a as they are, but as if it is. But ignoring that, I think the criteria makes sense that you can't replace this word with WH. And so Elliot says maybe it's because that eulated mouse could serve as a noun in a different sense. So then he rewrites the sentence, eulated mouse is my desire. So then he says, he makes this comment, and this is where I was getting really confused. So he says, so maybe the subject is just that, and the other text is what that refers to. There's only the subject by reference, not directly. I sort of got what he was saying on this case, but I couldn't figure out how to really apply that to other examples. Well, like I just sort of, I think I must not be fully getting what he's saying if I
Why's
can apply
this
it.
quality so shit?
So I just wrote an email saying I got stuck. Which wasn't a very good email, but I think it was better than silently being confused. So, and then Anne wrote a whole bunch of stuff, which is cool. Which is, you know, more stuff than I had any right to expect from like my tiny, not very good email. So thanks to Anne, and let's see if she helps my confusion. Okay. So I looked at the example sentences in this thread where a clause starts with that, and then has a complete sentence for the rest of the clause. Okay. So if what Anne means is complete sentence exclusive of, like excluding the that, so the that is serving no role within the sentence, then I think maybe the positive view will just apply a period to all of the cases. Let's see. I'm extremely confused on this stuff, so that could be totally wrong, and I would not be surprised at all. I'm just talking out loud. So the cases, why is just type this one? The cases where that does work on its own as a subject or object are, actually I'm going to open this as a reply. Okay. That you will. All right. So basically what Anne is saying is if you rewrite these sentences, you can get a rewritten two-clause construction where that works as the subject as in here, or the object as in here. More programming. So I'm working through SICP, Structure and Interpretation for Computer Programs, and I've got Dr. Racket open and Scheme loaded up so that I can do stuff indirectly. Okay, so let's start reading again. To evaluate a combination whose operator names a compound procedure. All right, so I'm making another grammar video, and I'm going to be going through some more examples of that used as a conjunction in Webster's Dictionary, and basically just describing that this was a little unclear. Sorry, I rewrote it a bit. I was noticing a difference between this sentence and this sentence. So, all right, so for this sort of sentence, I've been saying that the my standard rewrite has been
Super low on this video? Oh, volume?
like this, where I basically put the heavy that clause in front. And the reason that I think I can do that is because like this it is just not doing much, it's just like a pointer. And so if you drop it, it being like the literal it, if you drop the it and you just rearrange things, you get a sentence that has a very heavy subject, like it's a long walk before you hit the verb, but it's grammatical. And so for the purposes of grammatical analysis, it's fine. Now with this sentence, this is an entirely different sort of thing, I think. Special type, like sentences where you have the expletive it, and then that clause that's a noun. Well, actually, it doesn't say substantive noun, because it says substantive expression here. Trying to analyze their example sentences, but I'm struggling with the actual definition itself. Like that's kind of funny. All right, this might be easier if we start in the middle almost, because like so use this function where it introduces subordinate clause. Okay, but then there's anticipated. So this is like one. Can I click without clicking? This is like one idea here. Anticipated by the expletive it appearing as subject of a form of the copulative verb be. So when you have an it that is like this is what they're saying. By the way, I'm not saying this is necessarily a great way to think about this. Like this is the way that they're defining this is like an incredibly narrow special case. But just like now I'm just like trying to figure out what it even says. So I'm not like internalizing this approach. I just want to figure out what they're talking about even and start there. So anticipated by the expletive it. So we've got an it. So you have an it appearing as a subject. So it's a subject. Or
I can hear this video okay. The volume's low, but I can follow the words.
it appears to be a subject as it's initially written of a form of the copulative that's linking. Verb be was is a form of be. Okay, so and anticipated means that it comes before. So you've got an it that's a subject of be, and it comes before the that, and then that is used as a function where it introduces a subordinate clause. Okay, so we've got a clause here, we've got a that, and then we've got a clause, and then qualifier is when what follows the copulative verb. So what's after this is an adverb or adverbial phrase logically modifying the verb of the clause introduced by that. So what they're saying, I think I figured it out, geez Louise, is that so all the other stuff I said, and then like I have to incorporate. It's like so much like if I incorporate it by reference, and so then you have the copulative, the linking verb, and then that is copulative, right? Yeah. Right. So copulate gives the connecting link relation. It's supposed to like stand for or connect. This sentence I first met her there, and this sentence describes the interpreter follows much the same process for combinations whose operators name primitive procedures. So this is a bit of a mouthful of a sentence, but basically I think what it's saying is that the interpreter follows a similar process for doing a compound procedure. A compound procedure is just like something that's built out of primitive procedures. So like primitive procedures like, addition, multiplication, whatever, and then compound is built on top of that and uses that. And basically the interpreter follows like a similar process for evaluating those procedures. You see, that is, the interpreter evaluates the elements of the combination and applies the procedure, which is the value of the operator of the combination, to the arguments, which are the values of the operands of the combination. All right. So we can assume that the mechanism for applying primitive procedures to the arguments is built into the interpreter. For compound procedures, the application is as follows. To apply a compound procedure to arguments, evaluate the body of the procedure with each formal parameter replaced by its corresponding argument. We're going to illustrate. So this combination, this procedure that they're referencing, F, is built.
Yeah, that one button seemed to help a lot.
On. Oh, that's handy. It shows you the link. That's very learning oriented. I like that. Right. So this is from here. This is from 1.14. The F procedure is defined in terms of sum of squares, and it basically. So here's how it works. You put some number into F, you feed some number into F, and then this F procedure takes that number, and to one instance of that number it adds 1, and to one instance of that number it multiplies by 2, and then it takes the result of those and finds the sum of squares. And the sum of squares procedure uses squares, uses square, and the square procedure uses multiplication. And multiplication is a primitive, which goes back to the basic definition of this programming language. And so there we are. So that's the sort of structure of this operation. So they're basically going through this. They're saying, okay, so first step is you get this, and then you replace the formal parameter, which is a, with the actual. Thing. And again, that's cool how to do the links. So basically when you feed A into here, you got a 5 here and a 5 here, which they illustrate, right? So this problem reduces to the evaluation of a combination with 2 operands and an operator, sum of squares. I mean, like, this is one, we have to go there's more steps in the analysis, but at this level, we have operator, one operator, which is this thing, and then the operands, which are, this is one operand, and this is one operand. An operand is just like the thing that the operation is being done on. So it's like this is the operator, and this is an object of the operation, and this is another object. It's just a fancy word for that. So they say this problem reduces to the evaluation of a combination of two operands and operators and squares, or that evaluating this combination involves three subproblems. You must evaluate the operator to get the procedure to be applied, and we must evaluate the operands to get the arguments. So this is just saying like we've got to figure out what this requires and then what these values are. So these values are pretty straightforward. 5 plus 1 is 6. 5 times 2 is 10. So that's straightforward, and that's what they say. So then that's what you're applying sum of squares on. And sum of squares is just the sum. I mean, it kind of tells you it's like the sum of the squares of one number and another number. So when we do this step, we've got 6 and 10. So sum of squares of 6 and 10, right? So then this is the content of sum of squares. So sum of square 6, which is 36. The square 6 is 36. And square 10 is going to be 100. So that's what they're talking about here. And then they do the operation, and they finally do the addition, and they get f of 5 is 136. And because we defined all this stuff like we built up, we started with multiplication, and we used over square, and we did some squares, and we did this function thing, and so we built up this tower of abstractions, and then we just have the computer do all that calculation. So the process we have just described is called the substitution model for procedure application. It can be taken as a model that determines the meaning of the procedure application insofar as the procedures in this chapter are concerned. However, there are 2 points that should be stressed. What are those points? So the purpose of the substitution is to help us think about procedure application, not to provide a description of how the interpreter really works. Typical interpreters do not evaluate procedure applications by manipulating the text of a procedure to substitute values for the formal parameters. In practice, the substitution is accomplished by using a local environment for the formal parameters. We'll discuss this more fully in chapter 3 and 4 when we examine the implementation of an interpreter in detail. Over the course of this book, we'll present a sequence of increasingly elaborate models of how interpreters work, culminating with the complete implementation of an interpreter and compiler in chapter 5. The substitution model is only the first of these models where we get started thinking formally about the evaluation process. In general, in modeling phenomena in science and engineering, we begin with simplified and complete models. As we examine things in greater detail, these simple models become adequate and must be replaced with more refined models. The substitution model is no exception. In particular, when we address in chapter 3 the use of the procedures with mutable data, we'll see that the substitution model breaks down and must be replaced with more complicated model of procedure application. So they're just saying, this is a simplified presentation. This is like the first layer, the onion, or the first circle in the spiral of the learning journey of SICP in terms of how procedures work, and that's fine. You can't take in everything at once. So what's the footnote? Despite the simplicity of the substitution idea, it turns out to be surprisingly complicated to give a rigorous mathematical definition of the substitution process. The problem arises from the possibility of confusion between the names used for the formal parameters of a procedure and the possibly identical names used in the expressions to which the procedure may be applied. So, according to the description of evaluation given in 1.13, the interpreter evaluates the operator and operands, meaning fully evaluates them, and then applies the resulting procedure to the resulting arguments. This is not the only way to perform evaluation. Alternative evaluation model would not evaluate the operands until their values were needed. Instead, it would first substitute operand expressions for parameters until it obtained an expression involving only primitive operators. So, basically, in the previous example, the interpreter evaluated 5 plus 1 and 5 times 2 right away, and then figured out the sum of squares of those. Whereas with this alternate order, basically, nothing gets, it keeps substituting the lower levels of measure until it gets to a version where basically everything is primitive, everything's either addition or multiplication or subtraction or division or whatever it is, and then it evaluates. So whereas before it did sum of squares on 6 and 10, here it's like, okay, sum of squares means square of this and square of that, and doesn't touch the 5 plus 1 and 5 times 2, and then square means multiplying a number by itself, and it's only here that it starts to evaluate these. And so you notice, so they say this gives us the same answer as a previous evaluation model, but the process is different. In particular, the evaluations of 5 plus 1 and 5 times 2 are each performed twice here, corresponding to the reduction of the expression x times x, with x replaced respectively by 5 plus 1 and 5 times 2. So yeah, because the way it's treating these, right? So I think by an alternative evaluation model would not evaluate the operands until their values were needed. It basically just means like you basically do as much substitution for the procedures as you can, and then you literally can't do anything else until you start doing the evaluation. So I think that's what until their values were needed means. Now, this alternative fully expanded and reduced evaluation method is known as normal evaluation order, in contrast to the evaluate the arguments and then apply method that the interpreter actually uses, which is called applicative. It can be shown that for procedure applications that can be modeled using substitution, including all procedures in the first chapters of this book, and that yield legitimate values, normal order and applicative order evaluation produce the same value. Okay, let's use this applicative order evaluation partially because of the additional efficiency it's obtained from avoiding multiple evaluations of expressions such as those illustrated with 5 plus 1 and 5 times 2 above. And more significantly because normal order evaluation becomes much more complicated to deal with when we leave the realm of procedures that can be modeled by substitution. Normal order evaluation can be extremely valuable. Okay. Conditional expressions and predicates. The expressive power of the class of procedures we can define at this point is very limited because we have no way to make tests to perform different operations depending on the result of the test. For instance, we cannot define a procedure that computes the absolute value of a number by testing whether the number is positive, negative, or 0 and taking different actions in different cases according to the rule. This construct is called case analysis. And there's a special form in list for notating such case analysis. It's called con, which stands for conditional, and it's just as follows. Right, so I played with this expression sum, or this expression sum, and you can see because basically if you give it a number greater than x, it just outputs x. If you give it a number equal to 0, it just gives you 0, and if you give it a number less than 0, then it negates it, so then it becomes positive. So we've got an absolute procedure for getting absolute value. Actually, though, let's try something.
I wonder if there's a simple way to compute absolute value without a conditional. Using like subtraction or multiplying by -1 or stuff like that. Okay, well, this is exactly the question I was wondering. Oh, you can square it. Squaring it'll definitely get rid of... Okay, yeah, so square it and then square root it, and that'll get you absolute value. Square root is complicated, though. Oh, they're just getting rid of the negative bit from the representation of the integer. Oh, they're actually multiplying by a conditional. So like they're taking v less than 0 and they're treating that as a 1 or a 0 and multiplying by it. So that I consider cheating because it's using a conditional. I didn't want to just not have an if, I wanted to not have a condition like that. Like without checking whether it is below or above 0. Yeah, most of the stuff is just cheating, as far as I'm concerned. This looks like the actual answer. This one's just a conditional. Some of these answers are terrible. No if statements, just right. This is a fucking version of an if statement. They proceeded to deny that this is a compact if statement. Wow. Anyway, okay, so you multiply it. Wait, what? Right, you double n, you add 1, then you mod to it. Oh, okay, so if you double it and you add 1, and then you mod to it, the answer is guaranteed to be 1. However, it'll be positive or negative appropriately. So this is clever. This totally works. And this is actually not like squaring. At first I thought it was going to be like squaring because they have the n times some expression with n in it. But it's not like squaring. This is a way to get an either a 1 or a -1 from the n. They're scaling it down using modulo.
Yeah. Yeah, it works on. Okay. Just want to make sure. Actually. Your limit? Oh yeah, it truncates it. Okay, good to know. Alright. So the general form of the conditional expression is P1, E1, yada yada, consisting of a simple con followed by parenthesized pairs of expressions called clause.
Well, the good answer was like the 7th one down or something. It was flooded with bad answers.
The first expression in each pair is called a predicate. That is, an expression's value is interpreted as true or false. Conditional values or conditional expressions are evaluated as follows. The predicate P1 is evaluated first. If its value is false, then P2 is evaluated. Predicate's kind of a weird name for a thing that's getting evaluated first, but so it continues. So basically goes through each predicate, and these are the predicates. This one, and this last one. And it goes through and tries to find the value, and then if none of the pieces found to be true, then the value of the const is undefined. Yeah, expected array, I'll give it a banana. That's what happens. The word predicate is used for procedures that return true or false, as well as for expressions that evaluate true or false. The absolute value procedure abs makes use of the primitive predicates greater than, less than, equal to. It takes two numbers as arguments and tests whether the first number is respectively greater than, less than, or equal to the second number, returning true or false accordingly. Another way to write the absolute value procedure is define abs x cond less than x is 0. I see. If x is less than 0, return the negation of x, otherwise return x, which covers the 0 cases, then you just return 0. Right. Else is a special symbol that can be used in place of the predicate in the final clause of a cond. This causes the cond to return as its value, the value of the corresponding. Let's get over this because I was like, wait, what's the easiest expression? So it loops through. Cond goes through each of these, not loops, but just goes through. And this process continues until a predicate is found whose value is true, in which case the interpreter returns the value of the corresponding consequent expression E of the clause as the value of the conditional expression. Okay. Back to here. If you use else, it causes the cond to return as its value, the value of the corresponding consequent expression whenever all previous clauses have been bypassed. In fact, any expression that always values true can be used as the predicate here. And yeah, okay. Here's another way to write the absolute value procedure. Actually, let's try this. Oh, I see. So because we're using this less than, then it's expecting a number. And so if you try and feed it like a string or whatever, a word, then it beeps at you. I want to see if it would still beep with this rewrite. Here's another way to write the absolute value procedure. If x is less than 0, negate otherwise x. Right, so here we're using if. This uses, let me paste this in here. This uses a special form if, a restricted type of conditional that can be used when there are precisely two cases in the case analysis. The general form of an if expression is if predicate, consequent, alternative, right? So if this, then this, otherwise this, basically. To evaluate an if expression, the interpreter starts by evaluating the predicate part of the expression. If the predicate evaluates your true value, oh, now I think about it, because I guess you have the operator and then the predicate, right? So maybe predicate makes sense as a word. So to evaluate an if expression, the interpreter starts by evaluating the predicate part of the expression. If the predicate evaluates the true value, the interpreter then evaluates the consequent and returns its value. Otherwise, it evaluates the alternative and returns its value. What's the footnote here? The minor difference between if and cond is that the consequent expression part of each cond clause may be a sequence of expressions. If the corresponding predicate is found to be true, the expressions.
Wait, Justin, so you found SICP hard, and you got stuck, and then you wanted to do something easier? Is that the general thing that happened? Because there's a direct answer to that problem called simply scheme. Did you try that?
Are evaluated in sequence, and the value of the final expression in the sequence is returned as the value of the cond. In if expression, however, the consequent alternative must be single expressions. Okay. In addition to primitive procedures such as less than, equal, and greater than, there are logical composition operations which enable us to use to construct compound predicates. Most frequently used are say and, or, and not. I think the description of and. The interpreter evaluates expressions E one at a time in a left to right order. Then E evaluates to false. The value of the and expression is false, and the rest of the E's are not evaluated. If all E's evaluate true values, the value of the expression of the and expression is the value of the last one. So regarding and, I made this little expression here and I was playing with its and yeah, it's basically, it's what you expect. If all the expressions evaluate as true, then you get true, and if any evaluate as false, then you get false for the end. So that's pretty straightforward. Like I always say 5 is false because it's greater than 5. So okay. For or, the interpreter evaluates the expression one at a time in left right order. Any expression evaluates the true value, that value is returned is the value of the. If 4 is less than 12, which is also true, then output 4, otherwise output 3. If you run that, it outputs 4, which you expect because this is all true and it's going to an and. So if it's all true, then it'll do the first thing. Cond. So it says if 3.
I like this one. Translate to prefix expression.
Equals 4, output 6. If 4 equals 4, so 3 does not equal 4, so you skip that. If 4 equals 4, and that is true, then do the sum of 6, 7, and 3, which is 16. Otherwise, output 25. So it's like 16 from this. Yep. This is an interesting one. So basically, if 4 is greater than 3, then output 4, otherwise output 3. But then the output is added to 2. So because 4 is greater than 3, I expect you have 4 here, and then it'll get added to 2, and you have 6.
Wait, you had a hard time with simply scheme, so you were doing SICP instead?
Yep. Alright, so if 3 is greater than 4, you output A, that's not the case. If 3 is less than 4, you output B. Else negative 1. So we would only hit the else if 3 was equal to 4. If A was equal to B, I should say. Which it can't be because 3 is not equal to 4. So now since based on the actual values we have for A and B, we're going to do this one. So we're going to get the value B out of this whole cond. So it's 4, and that 4 is going to be multiplied by the sum of A and 1, and A is 3. So the sum of 3 and 1 is 4. So you get 4 times 4, so I'd also expect 16 from this. There we go. Cool. One exercise completed. Now I'm a full programmer. Okay. I can't even read this. Like, what the hell is this? What is going on here? Like there's, you can't even make out the denominators, man. What's going on? I mean, this is like it was taken from some ancient text. I'm just going to skip this one for now.
What?
Define a procedure that takes 3 numbers as arguments and returns the sum of squares of the 2 larger numbers. All right. So
I can read it. Okay, maybe not that. Okay, the fractions in the numerator are cut off. But that wouldn't stop you from translating it to prefix form. Just assume that they're 42. And carry on. I mean, I think this one's a 5, but whatever. Just make up the numbers and you can still do the problem.
Tried 1.3, and so what I'm trying to do here is like, okay, so roughly the structure is, if x is the lowest number, then do sum of squares of y and z. If y is the lowest number, do sum of squares of x and z. And if z is the lowest number, do sum of squares of x and y. And to find the lowest number, I basically did if x is less than or equal to y and x is less than or equal to z. So what that means is that x will at most, so for this first line here, it's checking for x being the lowest number. If x is at most equal to y or z, or both, then it's fine to use y and z for the biggest numbers. Because at most, like you have a scenario where like x and y are the same and z is bigger, like this one. And so the program will use y and z, and that's totally fine, for figuring out some squares, and that's fine. Even though y isn't actually bigger than x, they're the same, so it doesn't matter. Doing less than or equals to on all these catches the case where you feed numbers that are all the same. Just did less than, you wouldn't capture the, if you feed it 5, 5, 5, it doesn't know what to do. If these were just less than, like I tried it earlier. But with this way of setting it up, if you feed it 5, 5, 5, it says, okay, well, x is less than or equal to y, and x is less than or equal to z, because they're all equal, so then it says, okay, well, I'm going to do y and z. So I think that's right. So regarding 1.4, I'm not sure I quite follow their point in asking the question. I do think I can describe the procedure. So I'll say that, so basically, the purpose is to add the absolute value of b to a, and so you feed the procedure in a and b, and if b is greater than 0, it just adds the b to a normally, and if b, and otherwise, it adds the negation of b to a. So that's pretty straightforward, and it works like you would expect. So Benedict Evans has invented a test to determine whether the interpreter he is faced with is using clickable order, evaluation, or normal order. So I think this must be the
If n is positive, you get 2n plus 0. If n is negative, you get minus 2n plus 0. Oh, the second one comes out 0 either way. That's not useful at all.
So back to 1.4. Like this must be the point of this is like it's fundamental evaluation unless or combinations of operators or compound procedures because we're doing clickable order, I guess. Now let's look at 1.5. Benedict Evans test. He defines the two following procedures. Define DEP, find test xy. If x equals 0, 0, otherwise y. Since I think I'm still a bit fuzzy on applicative versus normal order stuff, I'm gonna stop here and I might like watch some lecture or something about applicative versus normal order or find some other discussion and see if that helps and come back later.
Ring says they don't use facial recognition, but they have a head of face recognition research. That's pretty funny. The job titles contradict their lies. It's a doorbell camera with 10 million users now, owned by Amazon, and they're doing creepy shit. Major privacy problems when you're putting like cameras on your front doorbell or something. Well, that's interesting. It's like you walk into a store and you just show your face to the cash register and then it charges you. Like instead of Face ID on your own device, you have Face ID on the cash register already. What the fuck? You knew SF was expensive? I didn't know it was this bad. They call it emotions detection. What they mean is behavior detection, like detecting certain behaviors that in our culture we associate with certain emotions. Like we call a person mad. What you see is they stomp their feet or they make a certain facial expression, or what you actually see is certain physical behaviors, not emotions. So you shouldn't call it emotion detection. You should call it like emotion associated behavior detection. Smartwatches and cheating on tests. Right, I'll click on that one. I wanted to look at this one first. Oh, it's short. A pair of modified glasses. You put some tape on some glasses. You put them over the victim's face. And you can get an unconscious person to unlock their phone. Works sometimes. Recommended all watches be banned from exam rooms. Because it's hard to tell which ones are smartwatches that would allow you to cheat. Maybe they wouldn't have so many cheating problems if people wanted to be there. Like, people cheat more at prison than at work. When it's voluntary, people are less inclined to cheat. It doesn't feel as unfair or hateful to them. Oh, the new blog comment was just trolling again? Alright, back to Benedict Evans. This thing was a big fucking deal. I've not really been following politics much. I've read almost nothing about it, but I knew that it happened. Oh, this must be an early thing, because Iran did it, was announced later, but initially there was some group in Yemen claimed they did it. I wonder if he'll update in the next newsletter and say actually it was Iran, or if he won't do any sort of correction. But I haven't like actually double checked that, but last time I checked there were some articles saying it was actually Iran. So it's possible they changed their minds again or something, I don't know. Wow, all e-commerce, including Amazon, is only 10% of US retail. I did not know it was still that low. It's certainly not 10% of my retail. No mention of Iran. No correction. Well, that's kind of nasty. This guy's a bit leftist. His opinions on like Facebook censorship of the right wing and stuff are pretty nasty as well. In general, I didn't fully read this one. If Instagram stories and Vine had a baby and then infused it with music. I've used TikTok a bit, by the way. I used it a bunch for like 5 days or something to get the idea. It gets pretty fucking repetitive though, in my opinion. I mean, it depends like how much you notice patterns and things, but if you're noticing patterns, there's so much repetition. And by tried it, I mean watch stuff. I didn't put content up myself. Yeah, I understand what they're talking about here with the sounds. You got a lot of different videos with the same audio tracks on them. It makes it easier for people to create content. Because it's like there's a popular 15-second song clip and there's a standard dance, and then you just do your own version of the same dance moves to the same soundtrack. And then you put that up and it goes in the trend section with the other ones for the same trend. And then you can search for other things that use the same soundtrack to find more like the video you just watched, if you like it. They're not just music clips either. There's a lot with someone talking and saying something. Like of like a mini like 10-second speech with bad philosophy. Or that's funny. And anyways, when you watch those, you see a person, and you might think like they made this thing up, but no, they just found the clip somewhere and decided to move their mouth silently while recording on TikTok. Like some of them just look like a person talking, kind of. But they're that's what they're trying to do. They're trying to look like they were the person who actually made that mini speech. Like they were just naturally making it while they were at home or something. Oh, I see what they mean. Like the focus is on the content instead of the users. It's not about who you follow. You just like scroll through content. Right, following people is not important. You can follow like no one and then just get an infinitely scrolling feed. And then you can like stuff and then it'll know you like that type of video and give you more stuff like that. I think that's basically how it works. I assume the AI, there's some sort of AI shit for what you like and don't like. Right. They just throw in unpopular videos to randomly a small amount of the time so they can find out whether people like them or not and whether they should show them to more people or not. Oh, so they measure if people scroll to the next video before it finishes, in addition to likes, comments, shares, downloads. And you're supposed to get 10% likes. And that's good, I guess. Oh, okay, so like the more popular it gets, the more the metrics, the more the standards increase. Like to be a billion view video, you presumably need more than 10% likes because 10% likes will get it in front of more people, but then it has to compete with the most popular videos to get in front of even more people. Create original content in the sense of making it slightly different than what other people did, but mostly copying them. It's like in the Fountainhead, what's his name? Keating's boss. Dominique's dad. Yeah, Guy Franken. When he's talking about the wine with Peter Keating. And he says you order this and it gives it that like special touch, like not too different, but a little bit original. It's the same thing. That's what you're supposed to do with TikTok videos. Mostly follow the herd, but give it that little extra touch so you're a little different. That's what they're saying here. I'm gonna go get that quote. Yeah, this is a... Take quail, for instance. Now, most people would order Burgundy with it. What do? You call for Klaus Vogiot 1904. See, adds that certain touch. Correct, but original. One must always be original, while also being correct. Like, you only change a little bit. I don't know what a Klaus Vogiot 1904 is. You could write blog comments in plain text, I imagine. Okay, some particular vineyard. Anyway, I'm happy with this connection. I think it's the same idea. Correct but original with the slightly different wine. Even if they don't look like it, the best TikTok videos are planned out before shooting. Practice doing it yourself. Get it as perfect as you can. Use a tripod, etc. Like, look a lot more casual than you are. Put in a bunch of hidden effort. Make it look low effort while being high effort. People like high quality with low effort, or the appearance of low effort. I should link this. I've been reading it for a while. Right. I saw the duets. Yeah. At first I thought that they might be like the people actually work together. But no, you just take someone else's video and then you do your own video and it plays them both at once. So you sort of sync to their video or do something that looks connected to it. But it lets you like tack on to popular people. Just like the general thing is you tack on to popular audio clips and copy like the same dance other people do or whatever. Oh, so the new one's on the left, the original's on the right. I did not know that. I didn't always know like which was the original. I think at some point I figured out that they weren't done at the same time. Right, hashtag your stuff with popular hashtags. Do searches to see what's popular and then do that. I think he means own audio. It's not a place to make fun of each other and not a place to talk politics. It's a place to be yourself and have fun. But people think that making fun of each other is fun. And for some people, making fun of people is being themselves. That's who they are, is they're a bully. And some people are into politics. So if you're avoiding politics, you're not being yourself. So I was very dishonest. If your video's not working, then you got this. That's so dishonest. Like, dear nerd with a 50 view video, just try something else, you got it. Probably not, no. Not everyone's gonna be popular. Oh, Gumroad CEO, what did he say? TikTok throws you right into the action. There's no choice or scrolling. What? There's hell of scroll. What the fuck is he talking about? Literally, you just like keep scrolling to the next video to watch another clip, and then you're like, all right, next clip, and you scroll to the next one over and over. It's like an infinite scrolly feed, kind of like Twitter. But with Twitter, you're like going into the past and you run into the stuff you read yesterday. With TikTok, it's like you're scrolling into the future of new content you haven't seen yet. It'd be sort of like if you could go on Twitter and just keep scrolling up to get more new tweets. So this is like incoherent. He's stupid. You swipe to the next thing on Tinder. What the fuck is he talking about? Maybe you swipe instead of scroll. Like, I don't literally remember if you're scrolling to like the right or to the down. But it's the same fucking thing. There's also like Reddit and Pinterest, except instead of boards and subreddit, content is grouped by audio/song. Pretty powerful. Powerful in what sense? That's not an honest comment. He's being vague on purpose because he doesn't want to figure out and say what he means. TikTok is the new Instagram. It's different than Vine or Snap in its stickiness. People getting on the platform are going to be hailed as geniuses later because they were early adopters of something that is now popular. Uh-huh. And they work with like big companies and big brands. It's not grassroots. It tries to look more grassroots than it is. The cost of next day delivery. Drivers forced to urinate in their vans. What the fuck? They made their newsletter URL thingy so fucking long that you can't even paste it. And it's like literally all unnecessary. Watch this. The page is gonna load fine with none of the 200 extra characters. Yeah, that's what genius is. Obviously, your goal in life is to win at social. So genius is a person who can win at social. Because if you were smart, that's what you would do, obviously. And if you don't win at social, it proves you're not smart. Because clearly you tried, and that means you failed. The new blog comments are also trolling. Alright, back to the article. You can't sue Amazon because the drivers are hired by Impacts in order to deliver for Amazon. I wonder how much impact works for other companies that aren't Amazon. Like how much is just Amazon pretending to not take responsibility versus it's actually like an independent company that does other stuff. I think it's unreasonable to say Amazon is going further than Uber by hiring a third-party company which hires people compared to using independent contractors. Because those people could be employees of Impacts. In some sense, it's going less far because the people are employees of a company. Potentially. It's a weird comparison. But they use cargo vans instead of big trucks in order to avoid a bunch of regulations from the Department of Transportation. That makes sense. That's kind of the government's fault for putting a bunch of red tape on specific categories and then there being a workaround. And the blog comment people are really hateful lately. Like, they must be really unhappy. Like, most regular people, they'll, like, lash out at you, but then, you know, after a few hours, or sometimes a little longer, they just go on with their life. They have other things to do. These people are more persistent than the typical person, which shows they're more miserable. They, like, have less other stuff to do. Most people care more about, like, their own life than about fucking with you. I mean, I'm sure these people do too, but they're unusually energetic at just trying to fuck with someone instead of trying to make their own life better. Most of the time, I just don't get any trolls for, like, months at a time. But now there seem to be multiple. I think they're, like, they're feeding off each other, like, they're encouraging each other. I think that's part of what's going on. They seem to be talking back and forth. It's hard to tell how many there are because they all post as anon mostly, or like random one-off names like exposed. But then, yeah, they're not too clear on who's who. And I'm not reading that closely, but I think even if I did read closely, it would be hard to tell exactly how many of them there were, besides checking IP addresses. And they are, at least some of them have violated the law, like libel and shit. So I wouldn't feel bad about checking IP addresses, but I think it's better ignored, basically. They're trying very hard to like get my attention by they try to think about what does curi value, things like reason, critical rationalism, and paths forward and objectivism. And then they try to say things that say I'm bad at those things. And they put like a little effort into making arguments that make some sense or are true. Like not complete ones and not serious, but they're trying to make it so that they want to like sow doubt in my mind or something like. But on the other hand, they're mad at me for being so confident. So I don't know why they think that's gonna work. Yeah, they certainly don't seem interested in serious discussion, just sort of yelling. I assume one of them is Zhao, but it's hard to tell, like, how much is him. Zhao was, like, really mad and, like, willing to troll. Like, he made a new email account just to troll on FI after I blocked him from posting. Well, they have to troll me because someone is wrong on the internet, and I'm like the only one who's wrong on the internet, like by my count, so that's totally worth their attention, right? No? I don't get it. Do I have the worst ideas on the internet? Like I'm more wrong? Is it that I'm good at presenting myself as plausibly pro-reason, but I'm actually betraying reason, whereas other people betray reason, but they don't initially come off pro-reason? Do they like acknowledge me as? Do they think I'm good at like presentation and charisma, just not content? Is that what's going on here? You think I talk a good game, but the substance is lacking? But I don't think so. They call me like unfriendly, hostile, autistic, etc. It's not like I have a huge audience or anything. I don't think they thought it through. Oh right, one of them is mad because of the Evaders blog post. Their name is on the list because they posted public emails. This article's hella long. Oh, you can make this thing disappear. Wait, what's this diagram? Oh, car accident. How is $15 to $18 an hour low pay? Like, I wouldn't call it high pay, but it's well over minimum wage. And that's like $30,000 to $36,000 a year if you work full time with no overtime. I've lived on less than that in a high cost of living area. And there's a lot of people who are paid less than that. And they survive. It's like below average pay or something, but they're calling it like low pay and complaining about it when some people are making half as much money. It seems kind of insensitive to the people who actually get. Like, if you're making double the next guy, you ought to be alright. Like, maybe not great, but you can certainly get by. Even if it's only 50% more than some of the people who work at McDonald's, that's still more. Like, you should be able to live if they can. I'm gonna end stream soon, taking questions. Hey, 15 is just step one. Then it'll be $15 an hour plus $1,000 a month for 0 hours of work. And then people will be like, I don't even want to work for that much. I have free money from the government every month anyways. So then they'll be like, well, we need to raise the minimum wage so the jobs are worth working. So then they'll raise it to like $50 an hour. And then we'll all be rich, right? That's how it works. If the companies would just pay people more, then people would have more money and we'd be like richer, right? Is that economics? That is not a serious comment.
Inefficient support players.
I don't think they merit. I mean, serious comments have already been done at length, so. And they don't want to respond to them.
Mostly technical players aren't really thinking enough about that division of labor the support heroes have. It's not really interesting to play to be the most effective. Looking at the sports, so obviously all great different things. Zen, for example, has great range, great damage potential, but his heals are a bit slow and only single target. The main strength of Harmony Orb is of course range and consistency of the heals. Now if we look at Beast, his range isn't quite as good as Zen, his damage potential also not so good, but he does have good heals per second in an AoE, as well as some burst heal with that mouse 2 shift mouse 2 combo. When I talk about range, by the way, I mean all abilities. Beast can hit heals, damage, and frisbees at long range, but it's much easier and more effective for him to use those in that sort of close to mid range. So looking at both of those heroes, we can see how they excel at different things. Now imagine if you had both of them. Let's say you're playing the Zen. You can weigh out the things that you're good at and Batiste might not be, as well as obviously the other way around, and use that to figure out how to adjust your play so that as a duo you're doing as much as possible and not sort of overlapping in effectiveness. You might think, hey, I'm good at range and Batiste isn't, so I'm going to focus on supporting teammates outside of the main group. Maybe that's a tracer on the flank, a sniper on high ground, and if you've got a fire, you're pretty much your only chance of getting heals. Batiste on the other hand might think, hey, Zen isn't great at healing the main group, Harmony obviously single target low HPS, but I'm the opposite. I have AoE heals and high HPS, so I'm much better at supporting the sort of main cluster. What this means is he can, stick with the tank line and get a lot of value out of his kit, while Zen does the other things. This is much better than the situation we've probably all seen, where your Zen walks out spawn, checks orb on the Orisa at the start of the game, and just leaves it there. Another thing to remember is how support duos feel for each other. Zen might be used to getting peel from Mercy or Lucio, but in this duo, Batiste doesn't really have an effective self-heal outside of that 15-second cooldown, so Zen has to be really aware of when Batiste needs those heals, or he's going to really limit the effectiveness of the duo. Understanding this division of labor is really important for support players, especially in a ladder environment where we see some slightly wacky support duos. A good rule of thumb is that there's usually one support who focuses on healing the main cluster of your team, and the other one is going to focus on the stuff sort of outside of that group. Although this might seem quite simple once you've thought about it, it's something that I see so many support players forgetting the game, and if you can just remember it, it will really help you. I will go into a lot more depth on this in a bigger video about combat matchups. To leave it with a real game example, here's a situation on Bull Sky A, where the enemy team in green is holding the mega room, and my team in red is pushing this close side. Now usually as Anna, I might want to go with them so I can keep my tanks healthy, but because we have a Moira who's very effective at doing that, I have a chance to sort of split my team and focus on using my range to help Tracer, as well as opening up an alternate angle that makes it easier for me to get utility value, something that's much more effective than me overlapping my heal potential with our Moira. And although I don't actually play this that great, I miss a bunch of shots and don't get anything from the sleep, we can see how remembering these ideas and adjusting my playstyle a bit did pay off and gave my team an easier time taking the point.
Why be indirect? Just have government run companies directly rather than setting wages, etc. True. That would be more consistent. And over time, the more consistent people on the left would win. Is what's going to stop them.
So I've looked over your VOD, and instead of going over a bunch of micro things, I'm just going to talk about two things that you really need to focus on. The first thing is going to be spacing, and the other one's more to do with your damage potential. So spacing, more important. People talk about positioning quite a lot, and it's not really that helpful because it's not really relatable to anything. So it's better to think about spacing. It makes things a lot easier to figure out. So all heroes have this sort of preferred spacing. The distance from front line, distance from enemy team, and also distance from certain heroes on their own team too. And in this VOD, you started almost every fight with quite sort of weak spacing, which makes things really difficult for you. Batiste's ideal spacing is in this sort of close to mid range. Close enough to your team to hit easy heals and frontline damage, but also sort of far back enough to avoid that trash damage coming through main. It's even more important versus dive, as you have to be spread out from your front line so that you don't get caught by an engage. But also because most of the enemy team is flanking, so you need to be far back enough to actually get info on that flank and have a little less. Okay, so if you look at this fight here, this is pretty much how all of your fights ended up. You're really clumped up with your frontline on cap, and then when the engage comes in, you get caught in it, and you just have to focus on staying alive. This is a really sort of inefficient way of playing Batiste. It's especially bad because you're playing into dive, right? You know, you should realize that, like, hey, I'm playing into dive. They're probably not going to try to engage your Orisa Hog, and you know, if they do, I can still, you know, heal them from range, right? You know, you don't need to be in the Ceresa's hitbox to hit what the mouse do. So there's really no real advantage to playing so close to tanks in the first place. But there's a lot of disadvantages, right? You know, first of all, you know, you're taking a lot of pressure, but also it means that your LS is so bad. You had absolutely no idea, like, who was coming through this dive, when they were coming in. You didn't know, like, you know, where your backline was, you know, whether they were going to need healing. And we can see, you know, because you're so far up and you didn't have LS, you know, by the time you realize that this actually needs healing, it's just way too late. You know, we can imagine if you're playing, you know, back here, maybe not back here, actually, maybe in the if you sort of flank it and gone in the doorway to the right by the mega, maybe that's better. I mean, there's no real perfect position, you know, when you're going to get engaged by dive. This is again why we talk about spacing a bit more, because like spacing generally is just a lot more important. But, you know, we can imagine if you're playing for the back, you'd actually be able to like peel, you know, for those heroes. And pretty much every fight this game, you know, sort of ends up in this way where like as soon as the fight starts, you get engaged on, you focus on staying alive, and you're always on this sort of back foot where like, you know, sure, like you're healing your team, you're doing stuff, but you're always like trying to like fight to stay afloat. And it's difficult to talk about like your micro stuff, you know, how you use your abilities, who you focus, when you spend so much of your time just trying to stay alive. Yeah, so your spacing screwed you a little bit versus dive, but you know, the enemy team's got Orisa, so spacing stuff isn't really as important. And this is where the damage stuff comes in a little bit more, because you seem to be in this mindset, this game, where you're focusing really hard on healing your team. And like, sure, you know, you can say like, you know, my team, you know, needed healing a lot of the time, and you know, yeah, they did, but you can think like, why is my team taking so much damage? And they're taking so much damage because, you know, heroes on the enemy team, you know, like the Winston, the Genji, the Hanzo, they're allowed to, you know, flank and set up and do whatever they want. And like, your team's really not sort of putting out enough range pressure to stop them from doing that. And you know, you can say like, oh, you know, that's my DPS's job, you know, they're going to be contesting these heroes, but you know, you really can't disrespect like your responsibilities with these to do that. You're focusing very hard on these heals, and you can do a lot more damage. And like this example here is pretty bad. Like your team gets antied. Go back a little bit. Like your team gets antied, which means they can't even get healing, right? They can't even get healed for 5 seconds. And you'd rather turn around and look at them and wait for the anti to go off than to like sort of look for damage options. And yeah, it's just a sign of this like mindset you're in that's really screwing you. And this situation is like so much worse when you realize you're playing Moira on this defense. You're playing Moira like in Orisa versus Orisa, which means that like pretty much the only thing she can do is heal these people behind barriers, right? There's not really anything else she's gonna be able to do. I mean, sure, she'll stay alive when you know Genji dashes in, but that's about it. And what this does really is gives you like a free path to almost ignore your team and focus like solely on going through these damage options and you know stopping these Genjis, these Hanzos from like doing whatever they want. And it's not like you have to you know go and duel these people and kill them. It's just small stuff like Hanzo's not gonna feel as free peeking a corner. You know, if someone's shooting at him, if you can force out like a deflect from Genji maybe before he goes in, he's gonna find it so much more difficult. It's just this sort of like unwillingness to like look for these damage options that really hurts you because your team they were in a situation a lot of this game where you're sort of stuck on the back foot. You know, like the enemies come in, everyone's taking so much damage, and you're fighting really hard to keep them alive, but it's sort of a fruitless task, right? Because like the fight was lost like when those heroes were allowed to sort of do so much damage to you and collapse on you and stuff. And like you spend after you swap with the more, you spend so much of the game just sort of like overlapping your heal potential, right? Like both of you are just holding us one into she's holding us one, you're holding us two, like into an Orisa. And just no one's putting enough damage to like stop these DPS heroes from like having free reign over your team. I actually did like make a video recently about like understanding this like division of labor in sports that was like quite a lot inspired by the defense of the squad. So maybe check that out. Okay, so quick example here, how you're not really focusing on damage again. Enemy team popped a high ground, popped the Orisa shield, and you just focus on healing frontline here. Yeah, again, you have this Moira who's you know, doing it for you anyway, and I think you let maybe like one burst into the shield after it comes out. Not even like you have a massive responsibility to put on not just damage pressure but also you know shield pressure really importantly, and you don't perform that at all here. And it's like it's again this just sort of this mindset of only focusing on heals, you know, healing that's really screwing your team. Like sure, like you might keep these tanks alive for like far longer than they should be alive, but it's you're losing fights you know, because you're focusing so much on the heals, especially in a situation like this where you already have someone who's going to be putting out the bulk kills on those tanks. Yeah, so sorry it's a bit different today. Like I didn't really focus on specific things you did, more just like your general like technique of playing Batiste. But if you focus on those two things, you know, spacing apart from your team so that you're not getting caught by engages and that you actually have LOS, as well as you know actually putting out some damage pressure so that the enemy team can't sort of get on you for free, you should hopefully be able to sort of avoid these situations where your team's you know, always getting overwhelmed and you're always on the back foot.
I like this guy. Egoist Cat. He makes short Overwatch coach videos that focus on like a couple main points. And I've watched several and they seemed like he was smart. Oh, there's one more Justin. Oh, there are two more Justin. Sick P gets stuck and Sick P number 4. Anyway, I'm gonna end stream. Later, guys.